And we are live. Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Gratitude Happy Hour. And this is a new series that I've started doing on Tuesdays called Healing Emotionally After Trauma. We are turning up the heat on healing emotionally. And today I have a beautiful co host with me, Carol Ann Cross. Carol Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Terry. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm just so happy to be able to share things with those who might need to understand from a different point of view what's happening and how they can heal from that.
Yeah, because we sometimes we need that outside information, that outside sharing of someone who's maybe been through what we've been through, right? For us to
Yeah,
really process it. I was reading something from Deepak Chopra. I really like his teachings. And I'd like to just read this one paragraph that he says because I think it really brings it out to light. He says, the human mind, inherently impatient, triggers emotional reactions when our ideas about how things should be collide with how they are. And isn't that so true, Carol Ann? We're going to talk about grief today. And so many of us, we go through that grief process and then we criticize and judge ourselves. We think that it should be over in a certain time frame, or
mhm.
it's like it should get easier, right? And so there's that collision of what our expectation is, and then something triggers, and all of a sudden we're right back in the depth of that grief. Have you
Yeah.
experienced that as well?
Yes, I have, and we're hardest on ourselves, and this is where our mind body connection comes in, because it's like we think that we should be feeling better now, and we're not, and it's like this ball of molasses, and it's rolling along, and it just keeps gathering all the time, and it's just getting bigger and bigger until we're actually made to stop and deal with the situation, as hard as that may be sometimes. And sometimes it comes from a different place to help you heal than you expected. But, we're very hard on ourselves. And forgiving myself was the hardest thing I had to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's huge. And I want to hear from you, whatever you want to share with us about your experience. And I know that it was very traumatic for you in the loss that you experienced. And I know that there's people that need to hear this. I really feel that the angels are sharing that there's people that are hurting and don't know how to release that pain. And that's what, with this show, with the people that I bring on, that's what we want to get at. And I do a healing exercise. I have one prepared for the end of the show today. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about how to get to that place of even looking at healing. So, can you share some of your journey with us? Anything that you want to share about your experience?
Okay, so I was very blessed to grow up in a house where my mother was a clairvoyant. So spirit and angel and oracle cards were a thing of my life. So, and then my beautiful daughter Danielle was born in 1972, and 2 years later, her sister Lisa was born. And when you sort of get married and you have little children, or in my case anyway, your spiritual side is always there, but your physical side really takes over, and family and everything. But when Danielle made her transition in 1978 at the age of 6, I just rejected everything I had grown up with, everything I had learned and known and experienced in my whole life. I was so angry, and I was very angry with God. And that was one of the major things. I was so angry with God. Not only that he did it to me and the family, but how could you do this to a child? And I just went through this horrible emotional tangle, and that went on for quite a few years. It went on for quite a long period. I lived a life, but I was living a physical life, a human life. You know, the spirituality was just, I pushed it all aside. It was always there,
Mm-hmm.
but I pushed it aside from my immediate area. And then in 1999, we went and had some aura photos done. And Barry was told he was a healer and that he should do Reiki. So the angels put it all into place. 6 weeks later, there was a course happening and he went to the course. And I need to step back for a moment. So for about 18 months before that time, I developed quite a serious heart condition. And it was a heart condition that couldn't be fixed by an operation. It needed to be medication. The medication was horrific because it would open up every vein and artery in my body. And so the blood is rushing through your body, especially through my head, and I would get these agonizing headaches. So then he started to do Reiki. So from the first night he did Reiki, he came home that night and he put his hands on me. And I started to feel the healing energy of the Reiki, and Reiki just changed my life. Then I was told, what are the metaphysics of your heart condition, Carol? And I said, I don't know, what are they? And I was told that my heart had turned to stone and I had built a wall around my heart, which made me quite angry. So I thought, I'm the most loving person around. How could you possibly say that about me? But then I stopped and I thought about that. And I realized, yes, I had put a wall around my heart because I didn't want to be hurt anymore. So even though I'm going through my life with my family and everything, I still had put this wall around my heart. And so then I stopped to think about, okay, so what do I need to do to solve this? And that's when I stepped back onto my spiritual pathway. And I started to think about, okay, so why has this happened? And then it came to me that, okay, this happened because you asked for this to happen. This is obviously a contract that you and Danielle made in a past life, before you came back to this lifetime I'm in. And so then I realized how blessed I was. She had chosen me to be her mother for those 6 years of her life. And that it was something that for me to learn, and for everybody in my circle who had anything to do with me, because that's what I believe happens when we come back with a contract. It ripples out to all of the people around us. And so that started to change how I looked at everything. And then I went and I did a Doreen Virtue Angel Intuitive course in 2005. And it just reinforced all the things I already knew, but that I had buried deep down inside of me. And everything then started to come out again. And I just realized how blessed I was with all that I had in my life. And I could look at life differently. And then it was pointed out to me, and I don't know who it was, but they said that to them, looking from the outside, the heart condition was a really physical thing to show that my heart had broken when Danielle had died. And then the Reiki and my spiritual beliefs and me changing the way I thought about it all, that then gave me back my life, and I was able to move forward with life. And forgiving myself, though, was the hardest thing, that I had let all of this happen for this period of time between Danielle's passing and my realization. And then I was very blessed. And I have lost track of years and periods of time. I don't have a timeline for things that happened in my life. But at one stage, I was going through a period of time that I would, during the night, no matter if we were a heat wave or anything, my bones would be like ice. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get warm. And then one night, I just had this thought, is that you, Danielle? And my hand was out from under the covers, and she took my hand, and I knew she was with me from the other side. And my bones went warm, and my life completely changed from those times. And you know, I just want everybody to know that there's no time for you to heal. You can't say, I'm going to be healed in a year, I'm going to be healed in 5 years. It takes what it takes until you get back into your heart and you work with the angels and you work with spirit, and then you can start to heal. And I have forgiven God, and I do talk to God quite often. And so yeah, so that's how my healing came about. And one of the other things that I think is very important for people, when Danielle made her transition, people didn't want to talk to me about Danielle because they didn't want to upset me, but I needed to talk about her. And so to me, that's one of the most important things, that people need to talk. It's just no point saying, oh, I don't want to upset them or anything. They need to talk. I wanted to tell people how marvelous she was, how much I loved her and whatever, but they didn't want to talk about it. But I needed to. And I believe that for most people, talking about the situation is very important, because that's part of the healing journey.
It really is. And many people, they don't they don't say anything, and their thought process is, I don't know what to say. And a lot
Mm.
of times you don't have to say anything. Just being there, right, Carol? Just holding
Yeah.
your hand while you're going through that. There's
Yes.
nothing anybody can say that's going to change you or how you feel or what
Uh,
happened. But them being there is like a rock for
yes.
you,
Yes.
something
It,
really
it is.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a comfort, and you know they're there for you, and you know to just be allowed to say what you want to say, and sometimes you don't want to say anything either. But the other thing that I have found interesting is, because as I said about my mum, she was just the most amazing person. So my mum passed away in 2015, and I had spent a lot of time with her, even though we live in different states in Australia. I'd spent a lot of time with her in the last few months of her life. And she and I had both talked about the fact that we would be able to communicate after she made her transition, which we have.
Right.
But what I found so interesting about that was, when mum made her transition, even though I was able to know she was at peace, she wasn't in pain, she was where she wanted to be with Danielle and everybody, my physical body still needed to grieve. My
Mhm.
spiritual self knew she was fine, but
Right.
my physical body needed to grieve. And to me, that's so important to where I am in life now. And yes, I've gone through that grieving, and you know, it's just, I'm just so blessed in that as well. But I also think we need to, because some spiritual people, they say, but why am I feeling like this? You know, I'm a spiritual person, I understand. But we have to remember that, yes, we're a soul, but this physical body is our vessel for our soul in this lifetime. And it's here to experience and to understand, and to have free will. So, you know, we have to let our physical body grieve as well as our spiritual self.
Right. And that's what grieves is
Mm,
that wanting to still talk to that person in person, to pick up the phone and call them,
yeah,
or to be with them with a hug or hold their hand. That's what we're
mm,
grieving is that
yeah,
loss of that. Our
yeah,
Yes, our spirit knows that they're okay. It knows that we can still communicate, but we're missing that person, and
yeah,
that's the grief. That's what we go into. And you mentioned anger, and that is such a huge part of grief and loss.
mm-hmm,
Huge.
yeah,
I know I have been there. I've really sometimes wanted to hold on to that anger. And
Yep.
anger can be really good for us. You know, it can
Yes.
really motivate us, but
Yes.
we have to come into balance with it. That's
Yeah.
what I found. Like in grief, you can stay in that anger stage, you know, sometimes for way too long.
Yeah.
And like you expressed, you know, being angry at God. Some people are just appalled at that. And like, I could never say that to God. I've told God that I'm angry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he
And
knows it
God,
anyway, right?
and he understands, that's
Yes,
the
yes,
important thing. He understands
exactly.
that it's part of the process. And he is just there. He's there all the time for us, just waiting for us. And that is just another part of it. And it's just amazing how we each heal in different ways, but with the support of the angels and our spirit guides and teachers. It's just so welcoming, their love, because I could always feel the angels' wings around me, even in my darkest hours, but
Mhm.
I didn't acknowledge them. And it was later on when I could acknowledge them and know that they had always been there. Because when you're in grief and you're in that place, yes, you have that anger inside of you, and yes, you're thinking, nobody knows how I feel, how do they possibly know what I'm going through? And it's just you get into this little cocoon thing almost, and it's like the butterfly, isn't it? We sort of build this chrysalis around us, and then we break out as this beautiful butterfly. And that's to me is just, it's just so awesome sometimes if you stop in a quiet moment and you think, wow, this is amazing. And then I think to myself, like I said before, I don't have any timelines of various things. I have a couple, but not many. And I think time doesn't matter, because time doesn't exist in the spirit world. And so time doesn't really matter. So whatever it takes, and if you need to talk to someone, talk to them. And if you can't talk to someone, go and talk to a tree. Go out in your garden and talk to the flowers. The fairies will be there to hear your story, and all of those things. So never ever feel alone. I know I did. I felt nobody in my family, nobody could understand how I felt. But you're never, ever alone. And believe me, I've talked to a great many trees. I have lovely trees on my property here. So, I talk to those trees, and I love those trees. But, that because the trees have an energy, they're alive, they're a spirit, the same as we are. And so we need to recognize all of these beautiful things that are there for us to support us.
They are there for us. And the important part is to express. And that's
Yeah.
part of what I wanted to cover today is it's so important to acknowledge that emotion that we're feeling.
Yeah.
And there's going to be times when you're going to be triggered.
Yeah.
You know, I had a huge, huge trigger just today. A
Right.
year ago today, I lost a cat that was so important to me. I'd had her for 19 years, a little over 19
Wow.
years. So she was my little girl. You know, she
Yeah.
was my shadow. She followed me everywhere, and she was a healing cat. She would sit on my chest and just do healing for me. And
Mm-hmm.
she knew this was at the time when I was going through the testing for whatever was happening in my body at that time.
Yeah.
And she knew already what was going on. So she would just lay on my chest and just do
Mhm.
some healing. Well,
Yeah.
she passed a year ago today, and the following day is when I received the diagnosis that I had breast cancer.
Ah.
But she knew that I was ready to accept that and to go forward. And so she
Yes.
left at that time. But today was triggered by knowing that it was that anniversary of her death. And we do get triggered, don't we, by the anniversaries, by birthdays, by just
Yeah.
sometimes by hearing the name, right?
Yeah.
Does it
Yeah.
ever happen with you?
Yes, it does. It does. And how I sort of do it now when I know, like, it's the day before Danielle made her transition or a birthday. You know, if it's a birthday, when I wake up in the morning, it's happy birthday, Danielle. And, you know, because I know that, you know, she's receiving that message from me. Whereas, you know, in the past, it was like very upset, very, you know, very angry and all of those things. So it's part of the whole healing situation. It's how we now deal with it. Not that you actually deal with it. It's a part of it, just is. You know, this is
Accept it.
this is it. Yes. So, you know, I always wish her a happy birthday and do all of those things. And at Christmas time I always wish her Merry Christmas and all of those things, because that's good for me to do that. It's a way that, you know, I haven't forgotten it. It is her birthday. I'll never forget it. But
Yeah,
it's an
we'll never forget.
yeah, it's an acknowledgement that, you know, I'm happy, and that I can still wish her a happy birthday, even though she is in spirit world, because, you know, I'm blessed that I can communicate with her, and the same with my mum. But I don't hold them down here, wanting them to be with me all the time. I know they're there when I need them, and Danielle has her own little way of letting me know she's there if I haven't realised her energy. But we're never alone, and if it's not those that we've lost, then we have the angels and our spirit guides and everybody with us all the time.
So, Carol, what would you say to people who impact after a loss?
Well, that's a really interesting thought. So somebody who's not in that space that you just said. So what I would do is I would I would find a quiet space and I would go within, and then I would possibly just start talking to them, because it doesn't matter if you're not going to get anything back. But I believe that even if you're just sitting talking to them and you don't realize that they are there, just quietly talking in a space of peace and quiet does a lot. And if you have a crying session, that's fine. You needed to release that. But then I would start to think about the fact, okay, look around at your surroundings and see what is there. Because I always say to people, you know, if you're looking for someone to talk to, and you in your mind you say, I'm looking for the right person, I need to have some healing here, it will come to you. Whether you're in a shopping center and you're drawn into a bookshop, and you might see a little card of somebody you could, you know, somebody who talks to angels, or you might find a book that can help you through. If you ask to be guided, then the guidance will be shown to you where you will find it, whether that's a counselor, somebody who does meditation. It's a way of doing a little meditation without doing a meditation, if you
Right.
understand what I mean, because you've gone into this quiet space. You've allowed your body just to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And even though all these emotions might be coming up, you're still allowing the guidance to come to you. And you will find, you might be playing on your iPad and somebody's name will come up, a link on your iPad, somebody who's been through something like that. Okay, so I'll contact them. I will go onto their contact page and send them an email, and just express what I need to know, because it's about expressing what you need, and getting it out there. Because sometimes, you know, we might be able to just get a couple of words that will start the journey to healing. It's allowing that journey to start, because if we don't if we don't stop and realize we need help and support, then we're not going to get it. We have to realize that we need that guidance and that support. and be open to the guidance we're going to get. As I said, whether it's the library book, something at the shopping centre, or something on, most people use social media now, and there's plenty of contacts that you can make via social media.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's very great advice. And the wonderful thing is that we all have these gifts. We all have spiritual intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we can hear from our loved ones.
Yeah.
And the more we sit and reflect and really bring their energy into us, we can feel them. We can
Yes.
feel them. They're still close by. They didn't go off to a place far, far away, never to
No.
be heard from again. They're
Yeah.
right here with us.
Yes.
And so that's beautiful to really get very mindful about your loved one and hold that energy in your heart.
And you know, I think that if when they're sitting in their quiet moment, if they put their hand on their heart and they just breathe and just relax and they think about their loved one, then that is so calming, because you know our heart energy is amazing. And everybody, even if they have not done Reiki or any kind of healing, we all have a form of healing in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, by putting their hand on their heart and then just going within can help them a lot. And then to just, even if they don't believe in anything, just ask for guidance. Just tell me which way to go. Because as we know with the angels, we have to ask the angels to help.
Right.
Our spirit guides can step in, but we need to ask the angels for support. And so just by doing something as simple as that does a lot, I believe.
I think so too. So, really expressing that emotion is healing in itself. But what a
Yes.
lot of people do, they try to numb that emotion.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel it. I don't want to think about, what I've lost, because then all that emotional flooding keeps coming in, and I get right back into that place of grief.
Yeah.
But the important thing to remember is to be gentle with yourself,
Oh,
and you
yes.
have to let it out. If it's
Yes.
not being expressed, that means it's stirring inside of you,
That's
and
right. And
it doesn't
yeah,
have a place to go until you give it that place to go, right?
that's right. And see, that is what happened to me with my heart condition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it I had to get to that stage, and you know, it had to then be healed and it had to be released. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the mind body connection is amazing. You know, we need to always be aware of, like, this up here is creating so much in our body. So the mind body connection is really important for us to realize. Mm.
Yeah, and that was a great point to bring out, Carol Ann. When we repress our emotions, it comes out in some form. So if
Mm.
we're not expressing it in a healthy way, and releasing by saying how we're feeling or what we're feeling, or even just getting in touch with it to
Yeah.
acknowledge it, it's going to come out in some physical form. That's what physical disease and pain is all about. It's
Yes.
not giving an avenue for that energy to release. So it
Mm.
balls up inside of us. And then all of a sudden, there we have backaches and stomach aches and headaches and heart problems, right?
Yeah.
It's going to
Exactly.
find an avenue. Yeah,
Yes. And it's like it gives us a big wake up call. You know, you get this little wake up call. It's a little tap to start off with. Are you listening? No, you aren't. Bit heavier next time. And then the
right.
third time, wow. So,
Yeah.
you know, we need to be aware of our thoughts creating our reality. And so it's just so important for us to be aware of it. And if we are in, people are in this place that they needing to heal after trauma, then they need to make the steps, do the steps, even if it's just sitting quietly with their hand on their heart and asking for support and asking, how do I get, how will I receive help? You know, so it's
Exactly.
amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. And the thing that I want to touch on also, and then I'm going to do this healing exercise that I want anyone who chooses to participate in. The thing that I want to say is you don't have to keep reliving any experience. When you're getting in touch with that emotion, you're only acknowledging it. You don't
Mhm.
have to relive the moments that you
No,
went through of the loss or of an event like something that happened in your life, like in my case where I experienced cancer last year, and on top of that I had two big losses of people and animals in my life.
mm,
So you don't have to keep regurgitating and reliving that experience to heal from it.
no.
But it's important to give those emotions a voice, to
Yes.
really allow them to be what they are so that they can move on up and out of you to heal.
Yeah.
So we don't have to just keep reliving and re-going over every story of
No,
everything we've been through.
no. We don't forget it. We never forget it, but we
Never.
don't have to relive the pain and the trauma because we have released it because we've understood it.
Hmm.
Because I think a lot of the time we just need to understand, and I was blessed that I could understand and realize what had happened with Danielle and I in our contract. So, but we never ever forget it, but we don't have to relive it.
Okay, so I want to just take a few minutes and just share this with you. There's 3 steps
Mm-hmm.
to really getting in touch with that emotion that's inside of you. And it may not be a grief experience. Maybe you didn't have a loss of someone, but maybe you had another trauma in your life. There's many forms of trauma. Illness is a form of trauma. If you've experienced maybe a car accident, something that really injured you and created, a whole different way of life, maybe that's a trauma. So there's many ways that we can be affected by things as we go through these lifetimes. If you're living, you've experienced some trauma, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be things. So the first thing, and I taught this one last week on the show, the first thing is to scan. So you just take a moment, and if you want to put your hand over your heart and breathe in, that really focuses you. It brings you a place to where you can center in your heart so that you're not all over the place with thoughts. So what you do is put your hand over your heart and you just breathe in slowly. And then you start at the top of your head and just let that breath go all the way down and just see what you're experiencing. Just quiet everything for a moment and tune in to what might be there. This is called the scan, and it helps to do this every day for you to really get in touch with what emotions are there. It's a self awareness that you can do so that you're not just shutting out what's there and repressing it. You're going to start finding it so you can express it. So the first part is recognizing it. What's there inside of your body and where do you feel it? So that's the first part, is recognizing it, going to that place right where you feel it. What does it feel like? You're going to really look at it. And if you're not finding anything, that's okay too. There's no judgment. Maybe you're not ready, or maybe there just isn't anything there. Maybe you've done some really great work and you don't need to go in there and do any digging. But we're going to listen to our body for just a minute. We're going to get very curious. That's the next part. You're going to do the scan to recognize it, and then you're going to accept that you found something, accept that it's there, acknowledge it, and then we're going to investigate. What does it look like? That place that's in you that's maybe just not setting real well. And it may be in more than one part of your body. Maybe as you do that scan, you're feeling something moving in your heart that you're like, oh, there's something there that maybe I need to give a voice to. Maybe I need to see what that's all about. Maybe it's in your solar plexus. This is where your personal power is. And sometimes when we're hurting, that's where we feel it the most. It's like that gut is hurting, that very center of you. So just take a moment with your eyes closed and just keep scanning. If you find something, just look at how it looks. How is it taking shape or form inside of you? Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? How painful is it as it sits in there? It may be just like a little itch, or it may be a huge pain. But get in touch with where that's at in your body. Give it a voice right now. Just say, I see you. I hear you. And it's okay. I'm okay with you being there at this moment. We're just communicating because I want to get to know what you're all about. And I want to know what you need from me. What does that pain need from you? Does it need some gentleness? Does it need some understanding? Does it need for you to accept that there's something that needs to be dismissed from your body? There's something that just needs to release. So as you go inside and you ask that question, what do you need from me? You're going to know the answer immediately because you've taken that time to communicate, and the pain will share with you why it's there and what's going on and how you can help it. So if the pain says that it wants to be released, it doesn't want to be stuck anymore, because that's what we're dealing with, is an emotion that's stuck somewhere in the body, then gently tell it, it's okay. It's okay. I don't need to hold on to you any longer, and you don't need to hold on to me. I'd like to release you back to the universe, to let you go with love. When we send love to any part of us, it's healing. And this is what's required to heal. The more we resist it, the more we tell it, I don't like you, I don't want you, that's pushing it further down. That's repressing it even more. But if you open your arms and say, I love you, you're a part of me, you're an experience that I'm having, and I love all of me and all of my experiences. But it's a time right now for this experience to move to the next level. It's time for you to move forward so I can move forward. So as you've given your pain a voice and you've shared love to it, then it's your choice to release it. You can say, okay, I'm letting you go. It's that simple. It really is. And some of that pain may be so deep, it may have been there for a lifetime. But you don't need it. You don't need that pain to be who you are. It was part of your experience, but it's not you. So letting it go is as easy as choosing to let it go. And if you choose to hold on to it, that's okay too. There's no judgment. It just means that you've got some more work to do inside and come to more of an understanding about what that pain is all about and why it was there in the first place. So lovingly and gently, if you're ready, just let that pain go. Just take a deep breath in right to the place where you felt it, and then let it go. And I encourage you, if you've done this process, or if you're going to do it, if you're watching the replay and this is something that you're going to do later, journal about this. Write it down. As we write what we go through, our experiences that we go through, it gives a finality to it. It gives that closure that says, I acknowledged, I came, I saw what was there, I acknowledged it, and then I let it go, closing that door on that experience, on that pain of that experience. It doesn't change anything as far as what happened in your life. It's only changing you for the better to transform that energy into a positive energy. So take a deep breath in if you've been with me through this process. Feel again, let's do another scan. Feel into that area where maybe there was something sitting there inside of your body that was maybe a heaviness, maybe just a little yell of something that wanted some attention. And see what it feels like now. And then wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a big hug. Just say thank you. Thank you. Gratitude is such an important part of our healing process. Being grateful for doing this for yourself, being grateful for hearing these words, to know that you have an avenue for your emotions to express themselves. So let's breathe that out and relax. And Carol Ann, I just want to hear from you. Did you um, do the experience as I was going through it?
Yes, I
I thought
did.
you were. I could
Yeah.
feel the
Yeah.
energy there.
And you know, I could feel a little bit of tension within my chest, and the color was a light gray, and so it was just about just everyday life. It wasn't about anything in particular, but just a couple of
Right.
little things that had happened in my normal life that I
Mhm.
just needed to get rid of, and I got rid of them. So thank you, Terry. That was
Hey,
beautiful. That
awesome.
was
Awesome.
beautiful.
Yeah, we can do it with anything, any kind of emotion that hasn't moved. It's
Hmm.
stagnant energy. So when you give it a voice, you acknowledge it, then it's like it wakes it up. It's like, oh, you're talking to me.
That's exactly right, and I think that that's one of the beautiful things when we can do something like this, because it does need a voice, and we need to wake it up and release it, and we feel so much better after doing that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, every week on this show, the angels have shown me that they're going to give me a tool to use to share with you, something to
Hmm.
put in your toolbox, and then you'll have, when something comes up, you'll have that. You'll
Yeah.
remember it. They'll bring it to your memory. Like,
Yeah.
okay, remember when we did this and that worked? We can do it again. So
Yes.
that's what this show is all about. It's just here as a means to help people, to help anybody that needs it. So if there's people watching the show right now that maybe you aren't the one that's in need, maybe you know someone, maybe it's a friend or a family member or a coworker, somebody you know that really is stuck in that energy of grief or loss or whatever it may be, anger. Anger is a huge one to let go of.
Yeah.
And many of us don't give anger a voice. And then that's when all the problems come in, like we talked about before. So if there's any of you that know of someone that could use this, please share it, and
Yes.
please let your friends know that we're on every week on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock Eastern. And this show is it's for you. It's your show. It's to help those that really need to understand more about healing emotionally.
Yeah.
And this week I've had Carol and Cross on with me. Carol, you are adorable. I love you so much.
Oh, thank you, Terry. I love you too, and I think the work that you are doing along with Deb and Ruth is just absolutely awesome. And I just thank you so much. I love being a part of it, and
Oh,
I love the whole experience.
well, we're so glad that you are a part of it. And if you haven't found Enlightened World Network yet, please go there to that page on Facebook and like the page. Next week, the founder of Enlightened World Network, Ruth Anderson, will be joining me on this show. And we're going to continue our talk about grief and loss and look at some more perspectives of dealing with it. So, Carol, I so appreciate you sharing so openly with us, sharing about your experience and your beautiful daughter, Danielle. And I know that she comes to you a lot. I know she's with you right now as
Yes,
you're going
yes.
through the sharing stage. So, thank you. Thank you so much. Carol is a host on Angel Heart Radio who is also syndicating this program. So this will be going out over the air on Angel Heart Radio. Carol, why don't you tell people how they can reach you and how they can listen to your shows on Angel Heart?
Okay, so I have a website, and it's carolsangelwings.com. And there is a contact page on my website that you can just send me your details and I will get in contact with you. Or I'm on Facebook as Carol Ann Cross, and you can contact me on Facebook. So with Angel Heart Radio, the best place to go is to go to angellight777.com, and all of the links and all of the information is on that page. So thank you, Teri. I've really loved being here with you this morning. It's been wonderful, and I'm so happy to be able to talk to anybody who would like to talk to someone, because it's important for all of us.
It is important, and thank you for that. Yes, a lot of people don't know where to turn. So
Mm.
when I bring people on, these are people that I know have been through this, that have done the inner work, and that would be a great resource for you if you want to reach out. So please, I encourage you to do that. Look
Yeah.
up Carol on any of these means that she mentioned, and she's a beautiful, beautiful soul. And also, Carol, you're in Australia, and I know
Yeah.
many of us have been praying for Australia with the trauma that's happened there with those fires. And so
Yeah.
we've kept you lifted up during all of that.
It's been amazing, the love and the compassion and the kindness and the generosity that has come in um, following the bushfires, and now everybody's been praying for rain, and we have the rain, and that's really wonderful as well. And just about all, there's still a couple of fires that are still going, but if they're sort of not as bad as they used to be. So as an Australian, and by the way, this program we came on air at 8 o'clock this morning in Brisbane time. So to listen to Teri's show, that's when you need to tune in at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, because we always have to be conscious of the different days and the different time zones as we're working out various shows and things. But it's just been, to feel the love that's come in from the world has been amazing, and to realise how unique Australia is in many ways, with our beautiful animals and everything, and to then look at metaphysical reasons for everything happening, and that's another show completely. I won't go into that now, but it's just really awesome what has been happening in the world, and to look on the positives of it. Australia is regenerating, and that's
Yes,
the
it
positive.
is. It is. And I also love all the compassion that I have seen that's
Yeah.
been flowing to Australia. So
Yes.
thank you again, Carol. I so appreciate you, and you're in my tomorrow. You're in Wednesday already. So I hope you have a beautiful Wednesday. I'm still ending Tuesday here. So to all the listeners, I love you and thank you for being here. I send you many blessings of happiness and joy. And remember who you're grateful for. If there's someone in your life that you're feeling that gratitude and you haven't expressed it, go tell them. Just
Yeah,
say, I'm
that's it.
grateful for you. And Carolyn, I'm so grateful for you for being here. So thank you again.
Thank you, Terry, and I'm grateful for you, and I just love you, and I love all that you're doing and all that Enlightened World is doing. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you. Okay,
Right.
bye everybody.
Bye, everybody.